A flash of movement caught his eye. Something was going on with Stefanie's fingers. She was scribbling furiously on the paper before her, biting her tender lower lip as she went. She looked up, locked eyes with him, and flashed the paper up and down again. The work of an instant. He saw the words nonetheless. They were written in large capital letters, underlined twice for emphasis. Pay attention. Ah, Stefanie. He tapped his fingers against the rail before him and composed his reply in Morse code. I am paying attention. To you. You look exceptionally handsome in that waistcoat. I should very much like to kiss you. He watched as her eyes dropped down to his fingers. He tapped the message again. She changed colour. Well, he couldn't see her well enough to verify, but he knew anyway. The flush would be mounting up above her stiff white collar, spreading along the curving wedge of her regal cheekbones, and beneath her moustache. The tip of her nose would be turning quite pink right about now. Yes, there it was, a little red glow, just like when he... With her elegant and agile fingers, Stefanie tore the paper in half, and in half again. She assembled the quarters together and tore them rather impressively once more. She hid the pieces under a leather portfolio and locked her hands together. Her knuckles were bone white. Hatherfield could see that from here. Familiar words struck his ear, jolting him out of his pleasant interlude. His stepmother's name. The Duchess of Southam, who was found murdered in her bed in the most gruesome manner, the details of which will become clear. The Duchess of Southam. Trust her to toss her bucket of icy water over his every moment of happiness, even from the grave, merely by the sound of her name in a room full of witnesses. He had tried by every means to deny her that power over him, and still she laid her cold hands on his body. Hatherfield found he couldn't quite bear to look at Stefanie now. He trained his gaze instead on the judge. The fly had disappeared, frightened away perhaps by the thunderous vibration of those tempting white curls, as the speaker worked himself up into an indignant climax. A theatrical chap, this judge, for all his comical jowls, and asked the prisoner how he pleaded. Hatherfield's hands gripped the rail before him. He straightened his long back, looked the judge squarely in the eye, and replied in a loud, clear voice, Not guilty, my lord. Devon, England, 8 months earlier. Princess Stefanie Victoria Augusta, a young woman not ordinarily subject to attacks of nerves, found to her horror that her fingers were twitching so violently she could scarcely fold her necktie. True, it was a drab necktie. She had longed for one in spangled purple silk, or that delicious tangerine she had spotted through a carriage window on a dapper young chap in London, before she and her sisters had been hustled away by their uncle to this ramshackle Jacobin pile, perched on a sea cliff in remotest Devon. For the record, she adored the place. But the array of neckties laid out before her on the first morning of her training had offered 3 choices: black, black, and black. "Haven't you any interesting neckties?" she had asked, letting one dangle from the extreme tips of her fingers as if it were an infant's soiled napkin. "My dear niece," said the Duke of Olympia, as he might say, "my dear incontinent puppy. You are not supposed to be interesting. You are supposed to be the dullest, most commonplace, most unremarkable law clerk in London. You are hiding, if you'll recall." "Yes, but must one hide oneself in such unspeakable drab neckties? Can't they at least be made of silk damask?" Stefanie let the necktie wither from her fingers to the tray below. "Law clerks do not wear silk damask neckties," said her sister Emily. She was standing before the mirror with great concentration, attempting a knot under the anxious